Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Doctor Who, Season 10, Episode 1. It's called The Pilot. Don't don't call an episode of TV The Pilot. That's stupid. It means something. It means something in TV. Don't
I
call it...
know, I know. I saw the name. I was like, really? I mean, especially it's even worse when it's an episode one of a series.
You don't call... No, pilot means something specific. If for some reason the perfect title, given the plot, if your show's about an airplane and it's about introducing the new pilot or something, put another adjective in front of it. Put something in front of it, but don't just call it the
Yeah.
pilot. Just
Do you know
don't
what
do
I'd
it.
do you know what I would have called this one? The Passenger.
You could have done that.
That's what I'd have done because that would have made sense in this episode.
That would have worked. But yeah, so spoilers, full spoilers for the episode. This is the season premiere, of course, of Doctor Who. It's been obviously we had an episode at Christmas, but it's been since the last season. It's been a good what, 2 years?
18 months.
18 months.
Because it aired in like September, October, the last time it was on for a
Right,
full
okay.
season.
Okay, so
So
it ended in
yeah.
like early
about
spring.
the Christmas episode, I think was the final episode
Oh, was
because
it? All right. Okay.
it's only 13.
Oh yeah, fair. Yeah. All right. So this was the first one with Bill, who's the new companion. So it was very much. It reminded me from at least from what I remember of like the way Rose was kind of introduced, where it kind of like she's the protagonist of the episode, and we follow
Yeah.
her, and the Doctor. Well, like, we know who he is, but he's kind of a mysterious figure to her,
Yeah, yeah.
and it kind of goes with that kind of thing, and she works at university. She works in the cafeteria. She's a lunch lady essentially, but she goes to the lectures and stuff anyway. And for some reason, the Doctor is working as a lecturer because it's how he passes the time.
I completely buy it from this Doctor. From Capaldi,
sure.
I buy it.
Sure, he looks like a lecturer. I'll take it.
Yeah.
But she's sitting in the lectures, and he notices that she's got a thirst for knowledge, and he's impressed by her. So he tutors her. And he's like, yeah,
Yes.
we'll work it out. We'll get you a degree. It's fine. Just be here every day, 6 o'clock. Blah blah blah. But of course, something comes up. Some sort of threat comes up, and I can only describe that threat as a evil puddle.
Accurate. You make it sound so unappealing, but it is technically accurate.
No, it's accurate, and honestly, I don't actually mind the threat in this too much. I think for the most part it works. I think when it started to lose me a little bit with the threat is maybe when it started doing too many like the person coming out of it kind of effects. And
Yeah, maybe did it once too many.
it started to feel just a little bit goofy. But the whole idea that the water's like running like, down the steps, coming after you, I mean that was fine. That's cool.
Yeah, how do you run from water when because it just goes under the cracks and stuff like that.
Yeah, that stuff works. I actually liked the episode a lot though, mainly, but less because of the threat. The threat almost felt like, oh, we just need a threat in this episode because it's a Doctor Who episode.
Yeah.
When really the point of the episode is being introduced to Bill and learn who she is and
Yes.
her camaraderie with the Doctor. And I thought all that stuff actually worked really well. They have a new this spin on her where she looks at things differently. And
Yeah.
the easiest way to sum that up is that when he says he's the Doctor and she doesn't say Doctor Who, she says Doctor what.
Yeah, yeah.
It immediately sets you up for this idea. Oh right, she just thinks about things differently, and she calls things out. She points out plot holes.
Yeah, and it's to the idea where the Doctor says to her when you don't know something, people usually frown, but you smile. And there's actually a really nice payoff to that later on. It's a small moment, but you know where there's the Daleks, and the Doctor's like going, "Oh, it's a Dalek," and she goes, "What's a Dalek?" And then she smiles because she doesn't know and she wants to find out. And it's just a small little thing, but I really like that.
Yeah, you shouldn't be smiling at Daleks coming at you.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Stop
It
it,
was
Bill.
yeah.
But no, she. It was actually a lot of humour that came from that. One of the biggest laughs I got was she kept not getting what the TARDIS was. She kept saying, "Oh, it's just a room. It's just a weird entrance to a room." And then it opens like, "Oh, you can move anywhere in the university. This is impressive." And it kept, and then even at that moment where Matt Lucas and the Doctor like shake hands because she finally says it's bigger than the inside. Like she
And
takes
he's
so long
like,
to
"Oh,
get
it
to
took
it.
long enough." Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something actually I'm really enjoying having Nad all along. Like I think Well, I've enjoyed him in the last couple of Christmas specials, but I think it really gives a nice dynamic having three people around. I've missed it.
Yeah, I wasn't actually sure how I was going to feel about him sticking around, but at least in this episode so far, it was funny when he needed to be,
Yeah, exactly.
and they didn't. There wasn't too much of him either, so it worked
Yeah,
well. No, I like Bill. I think Bill's pretty funny, and
I agree.
she has a zest about her that's different to the past few companions.
Yeah,
She feels different, and partly will be because she is gay, and that actually gives her a lot. I mean, obviously, once the Doctor turned to Peter Capaldi, the sexual tension kind of disappeared anyway because he's so much older. But they all had this kind of thing where,
in the modern era, yeah.
there's maybe an attraction there, like Rose and Eccleston, Rose and Tennant, like
It
they all.
wasn't so much with Rose and Eccleston, but Rose and Tennant definitely, because obviously
Yeah.
that ended with
And
them
then
having a relationship on the alternate world.
And Matt Smith and everyone, basically.
Yeah, especially with Karen Gillan, that was ridiculous.
And especially Rory. He had a lot of tension with
Yeah,
Rory.
yeah,
Just
that's
call
true.
me crazy. But no, like that immediately sets it up. And what I think's actually surprised me about the whole her being gay is that I didn't expect them to actually make it such a big part of the show.
Do you know what is actually because I've seen a little bit of in advance of about this because I'm a big Doctor Who fan. Now
A
I
nerd.
knew.
Yeah, just call it what it is.
All
You're a
right,
nerd.
okay, yeah, fine. I knew they'd said that her, telling us that she's gay was like her second line of dialogue. And when I heard that, I was a little bit concerned that it was like, that they were just throwing it in at the start. Like you've got to make that feel natural to
Oh, yeah.
say that to people.
Well, because
But-
the way I thought it was going to be, which is why I was surprised in this, is I thought that she would happen to be gay, but it would be something that's very rarely brought up. Like, they'd mention it, but
Yeah.
it would never be a thing. But in this episode, we see her flirting with another girl, she's talking about being attracted to someone, like the opening thing about the chips and how she
Yeah.
how she kept giving extra chips out to this girl who she liked. Like right away, they made a point of having it be a big part of her character, and it doesn't just feel like it's just happening. Which I think it works either way. I think there's a way it can feel forced, whereas here it feels like the way she talks about girls is the same way that you'd expect a girl talking about guys if she was straight, or a guy talking about girls if they were
It's just
straight.
casual and normal.
Yeah.
Which is, I think this is why I was a little bit concerned going in because they said, it's her second line of dialogue. I was like, okay. Not that can be a bad thing, just that it felt like maybe it would feel unnatural her bringing it up, depending on how they did it. But it turned out I had nothing to worry about.
Yeah, the story she tells is actually kind of amusing.
Yeah.
But she has a zest about her, which is probably what I'd say. If I have any complaints about the episode, is there's just one or two small moments, because I actually kind of like how once the water threat's established, which feels a little bit random, it's a little bit coincidental, this just happens to be close by, but this is kind of true for maybe not quite half, but I feel like there's a good third of Doctor Who episodes where it's just an extreme coincidence that something happens to be going on wherever.
Yeah,
People
it's
are.
actually very common with the first episodes of Companions. I mean, Rose, she just happens to be in the shop when the Autons are there.
Yeah.
Amy is he crashes in her garden, which is kind of coincidence.
That one's less so though, because he has to crash somewhere, so that's how we start the story. Whereas with these ones, it's a little bit weirder because it's like, no, the story just is already happening. There just happens to be some alien threat.
Yes.
When this character has never seen an alien before, but within a couple, well, it's maybe a few weeks in this case because we see like a montage of time going by. But within a few weeks of meeting the Doctor, there's an alien puddle that's taking someone alive.
And like you say, it could be a complaint, but that's just something you got to roll with in Doctor Who. That's just part of how the show is.
Honestly, there was just a couple of weird pacing moments for me. I mean, I say pacing, I mean the pacing in the shot, not like pacing as an episode. It was whenever people were running.
Right.
And the big one that I really had a problem with was it was when Bill comes into the office and explains the puddle to him, and she turns around and he's already gone, right? And she looks out the window.
And he's running down below.
Right. And then it's the shot of her running out after him, and she's shouting after him, wait, why are you running? And she just keeps running. And the shot goes on for ages, and it felt so clunky and awkward. It was like, I don't know, like the shot lingered too long, she was running really slow, and do you know what I think made it stood out? Is that they started playing his main theme as this was happening.
Yes.
You know,
Because it was the first big action thing.
And I'm like, this doesn't justify this theme, and I think that was what made the whole shot feel like it lingered too long. Is that I'm like, you're letting the theme play out, and all that's happening is someone's running across the
I
field.
disagree about it not justifying the theme, because that whole moment is he's been here for, potentially months, just sitting here. Well, I mean, potentially years,
When I
depending
say
on if.
when I say justify the theme, I don't mean his decision to go do it. I understand the decision of him. Oh wait, there's a threat. There's something Doctor Who
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Whoish to do. I get that that's what kicks the theme in. I mean the action of what's going on the screen just does not match the epic music at all.
yeah. That's fair.
The shot just made me go, this is weird. And then there was another one later on when she was running down a street. But like I don't know, there was just a couple of the running scenes were just kind of weird. I don't know what it was. It was something just off about them.
No, that's fair.
There was no momentum. I think it was the way it was shot, the lens, maybe the depth of field. It just made it feel like they weren't moving very fast. Or
This isn't something you felt on a regular basis with Doctor Who, is it? Because obviously there's a
no,
lot of running in Doctor
no,
Who.
no, no, no. I don't think they typically linger on one shot though. They'll cut between shots. Maybe it'll be shaky
Yeah.
cam or handheld.
Just maybe a little bit of slightly poor direction on this then.
Yeah, just a really odd choice how to cover it. I think more than anything else. But it stuck out next to the music because the music's going really epic, and I felt like the shot was like la di da.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I almost expect elevator music to be playing as this shot's going on because it's so laid back. I mean, she's running, but and I'm not
Yeah.
mocking the way she runs. That's not what I'm saying. It just
But it's because there's no movement anywhere
Yeah.
else. There, it just feels like you're just watching it.
yeah, it feels like a weird moment. So, but that's kind of the extent though, because once all the stuff kicks in, the threat kicks in, is I actually really liked how the score especially had a lot of horror movie-esque strings going on, and
Yeah,
she
yeah.
was when she came home and she was like she heard she thought it was like her foster mother that was in the shower, but like it's creepy and she's checking the doors and she hears the phone and everything's dark and it goes full
Nice,
on
yeah.
horror movie for a little bit and
There's a few nice musical cues in this episode, actually.
there is Clara's theme at one point that
I,
kicks in.
I actually really loved that moment because it's just as a complaint I have with the episode that I'll get to in a minute, but it's obviously this big moment where the Doctor's about to wipe her memory, and she says,
I like that she realizes
knows what's
that's what
going
she's
on.
about to do.
Yeah, yeah,
I've seen movies. I know what a mind wipe looks like.
yeah. And then she says, "Yeah, but how would you feel if someone did this to you?" And it just plays the theme. It doesn't. There's no words. You just get what he's thinking. You know he's going, "What if I forgot about her?" And that was weird because obviously there was these occasional flashbacks to things we'd already seen in this episode. When like Bill realized something to do with the threat. It was like, why does it keep following you? And then it cuts back to us, her showing it, telling her, don't promise not to leave.
Yeah.
And it did it a couple of times, and I felt like those weren't needed. Those little flashbacks. I was like, it felt like, oh, hey, remember this, viewer, and I kind of didn't like that. But then it was really weird because then they did this with Clara's theme where they don't remind you any other way. They just give you the music and trust you to you know what's going on, which is why it was weird before.
Wait, didn't his mind get wiped though?
Yeah.
Like, I thought Clara was the one who kept her memory and he was the one who got his mind wiped to her.
Did he lose all his memories of her?
I think so. Because remember, he goes to the diner at the end of the last season and he...
Yeah.
Admittedly, I have an advantage here because I just watched this a few months ago.
This was a long time ago for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I caught up for the Christmas episode, so this wasn't that long ago. But he goes to the diner and she
you're right.
she not only talks to him, but he doesn't recognise her.
But he knows there was someone, right? Because if I recall, he doesn't just know it was her.
Oh, sure, yeah, he doesn't...
He knows he forgot
yeah.
something.
Yeah, he doesn't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was him that had his mind wiped, though. Which is
Yeah,
why
yeah.
the moment worked even better for me, is because when the music played, because he did forget. This has happened to him.
Yeah.
He's had his mind wiped,
Yeah.
and he feels the emptiness, which is why I thought it worked.
I mean, it works both ways, but that does work, yeah.
Yeah. So, that was nice. So he agrees to take on a new companion, and she wants to. She's excited by it, and companions usually are. They very rarely are they just like annoyed and don't want any part
it's
of
the
it.
promise of all of time and space, isn't it? It's kind of like that's the thrill.
Oh, I
for a
love.
lot
Do
of
you know what my favourite thing she pointed out though? And he never
Go on.
really explained it either. But he agreed. Oh wait, no one usually points that out. It's like, why is TARDIS in English? Why? Like,
Yeah, that doesn't work in another language.
yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the most common complaints you can have about anything where there's aliens or other civilizations from other planets. It's like, why are they speaking English?
Yeah.
And unless it's obviously something where they came from Earth first, obviously. But
That's true. And obviously in Doctor Who, they always say the TARDIS translates for them. And obviously, you just assume he knows English at this point. He's been on Earth long enough.
oh yeah, he will know English. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, because don't they imply that like each Doctor's actually been like each iteration actually lasts for like hundreds of years to him? Like we see obviously
it varies, yeah.
Yeah, but
because we know, I think it was in Tenants that he was 900, and then he went off on like a 100-year jaunt because he didn't want to face the end.
aye, but that's what I'm saying. That there's like sometimes there's hundreds of years that pass between seasons or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And that seems like to be a similar kind of thing because it feels like he's been at this university for years.
Yeah. I'm a little bit like hazy because they say, oh, this teacher has been here for ages. You know, some people say 50, 70 years.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit like, has he been just here for 50, 70 years doing this now? Or has it been he kind of comes and goes?
It could come and go, but I mean, it works either way because he's a doctor.
Does. Do you know what I found, frankly, the most unbelievable part of this episode?
Oh, go on.
So they go to the puddle. You know, when her friend first points out the puddle to her, and she says, "There's a puddle there." She's like, "Yeah." So she goes, "It hasn't rained in a week." I was like, "Yeah, sure. No rain for a whole week in England. I don't believe that for a second. I'm just not buying it."
Sometimes it. Okay. Actually, my biggest problem with that scene is that when she says, right, look in the puddle, and she's like, you see a reflection, she says, well, what's wrong with it? I think almost anyone, when they hear that sentence, would go, you cheeky bastard. What are you saying? Like, you just think they were trying to set you up for a joke, to try to say there was something wrong with the way you looked.
Yeah.
But she immediately gets that she means there's something weird with the reflection. So, yeah.
I think, to be fair, her demeanor and attitude of the way she's saying it and the way she's acting means, this probably isn't a setup for a punchline.
Yeah. I appreciate the pacing. It's one of the things I like about the new companion episodes is they typically are a bit slower and just build the character more because that's kind of what the purpose is.
Yeah.
So I like that. That was good.
I like that it was a smaller scale thing because a lot of the series openers are big, massive, epic events that we have, and I get that for the final episodes. That's just standard.
Yeah, but the universe doesn't always have to be at stake. Sometimes it's nice to just have a small threat.
Yeah, especially in a first episode as well. Go, no, it doesn't matter. That's not what's the focus. That's not why this opening episode is important. It's important because of this character, and that's why we're here. So it worked for me.
Well, I liked it quite a bit as well. I thought did a good job of introducing her. It made me like her. It gave me a good sense of what she's like and who she is. And although if I'm going to complain actually about anything about the puddle or about the threat, is they never actually really get to what it actually is or where it's from or any. Not that I need full answers, but there was like there really wasn't anything. It was just kind of.
Well, I mean, we get it was the leakage of some of a spacecraft, right?
Well, he just kind of ponders that though. He didn't really.
Yeah, but usually when the Doctor ponders like that, you just kind of, unless they did, go back on it later, you just take that as it.
We get that POV shot from inside it, and there's like whispers saying, "Oh, it's the pilot." Like what are these things in the liquid? I don't know. And he does mention we might see her again. Like we can search the universe, but I'd expect her to pop up. Not right away, but I could expect it.
No, I think maybe 3/4 through the season.
Yeah, something like that. I could expect it. But no, I thought this was a pretty enjoyable premiere because it good pacing, good horror elements when it needed to be. The Bill's really interesting as a character, and it had a couple of touchy moments. So as much as there's some nitpicks here or there. Do we have any idea what's in his vault? He's got a vault that he's keeping under the university.
I do not, because I've seen enough stuff from Moffat at this point to know he's going to pull it out of his arse at the last minute without setting it up properly anyway.
All right. He's got a vault. He's got a vault under the university. And he's got something in there.
I did like that, actually, where obviously he hears Bill sneaking around. And he asks Nardole, like, what did you set the security door to? And he's like, friends only. And he's like, okay, it's just her. Just carry on.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But no, that was an enjoyable first episode. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Uh, I mean, they do the obviously next time on Doctor Who bollocks at the end. I did see it, but let's not talk about it. We'll just
Yeah. Obviously, we had the this season on for the first episode as well.
yeah, but all this. Well, actually, I do want to mention something about that. They decided to spoil something we talked about in the news a couple of weeks ago, which we thought they probably shouldn't have spoiled, but they put it at the end of the
Yeah,
on the season.
I get. I mean,
clip.
it was in all the. It'd already been news headlines anyway. So
Yeah, but
like,
imagine if you
everyone on
avoided it.
even
Imagine if you're the sort of person who avoids news sites because you don't want things like that, right? And then you
Yeah.
get to this video package at the end. Now, admittedly, if you're the sort of person who avoids news sites, you probably just turn it off
probably
right away.
yeah, exactly.
But-
But sometimes you cannot get to the remote quick enough.
Yeah, sometimes it's just out of reach and you can't quite get to it because you're lazy. And that's okay, because I understand. I sympathise with that.
Yeah.
But no, so let us know what you thought of the episode and stuff in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at @mailed_fuzz for channel updates. Individual Twitters are on the screen. Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you next time. Have you got any vanilla?